The recent winter holidays meant a trip home, or more accurately, a trip to my parents' house. Though it hasn't been my home for many years, this house and my hometown are full of relics of my early life. Like this basketball goal behind my house, where I worked tirelessly on my jump shot, eventually realizing that my hopes of playing professional basketball were misplaced. A short drive through my neighborhood and around town reveals other meaningful monuments of my childhood and adolescence. Like my elementary school, where I spent many years fighting a losing battle to be cool, and the playground where that loss was most apparent, or more than anything, I just didn't want to stick out, never mind fitting in. Or my junior high school, where the battle continued, where popularity seemed to be the most important thing in my world and always just outside of my grasp. Or that field where I spent one regrettably unsuccessful day on the football team. You'll find that I have a lot of sports failure stories. Or the home of my only living grandparent, where I have spent innumerable holidays since my birth. Love you, Gamma. My high school, where I struggled to find my identity. Who was I in this increasingly complex world? For a couple of years, I rebelled against people's perceptions of me, hiding behind the lie that I didn't care what they thought. I did care, of course. Mostly I cared about what girls thought of me, which meant I had to get rid of the dog collar and wallet chain and dress like a real boy. Needless to say, this is also where I learned valuable lessons about love and heartbreak. And over there at what used to be a shopping mall, where I had my first job working in a retail store that doesn't exist anymore. Where I would love to say I learned the importance of hard work, but mostly just learned how much working in retail sucked. But of course, any trip to my childhood home means leaving, pulling away from my parents' house and heading back to what has come to feel more like home. In this moment, I'm struck by a distant memory of a time, many years ago, when I drove away like this. I was 18 and still able to fit most everything I owned in the back of my truck. That trip was to my first year at college, and little did I know how much my life would change when I made that right turn off of the street I grew up on. I was unaware of it then, but the very concept of what I called home was going to change. I believe that's one of the irreversible truths of college. What you consider to be home will change. While hopefully it remains refreshing to return to the home of your youth, it won't always remain as you remember it. Soon your college home might feel more like home, and you'll find yourself aching to get back to it in the world you've created there. Emily Dickinson once said that where thou art, that is home. And while I'm not sure I completely agree with this statement, I think it does speak to the idea that home is a fluctuating thing. College will introduce a great deal of change into your life, and it may at first be overwhelming and off-putting, but eventually you'll learn, as the Greek philosopher Heraclitus once said, the only constant is change. Time will pass, and circumstances will change, but in this ongoing ebb and flow of existence, you will eventually find your center, your resting place, your home. I will see you all next Monday.